It's time for the movie rating. Tonight's victim is voice actor Michael Adam Thwaite, that had played in countless other films and television and everything. Stargate SG-1 TV series. He's played in Lego Ninjago, everything basically. Walking Tall remake and so forth and so forth. Hello.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
What have we been up to this year so far?
Oh, man, I gotta say, it's been a pretty busy year. Television here in Vancouver, BC, up in Canada is actually, pretty popping any time of the year. It's been a busy season. I've been on lots of shows. Most of them are still confidential, but there's lots of super things happening up here, Mike.
So how is, voice acting, is it like an up and down type of market for you, at least recently for you, or are you still basically freelancing from whichever it's got the better work?
Well, I'm in a lucky situation where I float between film and television and voiceover with enough frequency that I'm kind of balanced out. My year feels pretty good. There's occasional dips like they are in every industry, but I'm lucky to be bouncing around, kind of putting my fingers in all the pies, as the old saying goes.
Yeah, I can imagine that it's just voice acting itself. I can imagine that, if the show itself has a huge following, a huge hit, more than a year, I can imagine this could make some really good money for you. But for the most part, if you're just sticking with this just voice acting, I can imagine you won't generate as much money to support yourself and maybe your other works, but bouncing from other things, at least you'll have a ring of revenue going on.
Yeah, I think mostly measurable when you consider how the fans react when the fans jump on board and they really make that declaration that this is the show for us, this is what represents our community. They really do, go to the conventions and they say, we demand these actors, and it really does bring a lot of energy to a show. Of course, something on the other end of the spectrum that might not necessarily be related to the cast or the casting would be how well the toy sales might be doing. If you hit fans with a particular kind of show at a particular time in their lives, they might go nuts for those toys. We've seen huge fan support in the way of toy sales over the last several years with Lego Ninjago. So I can only imagine that is way more measurable for a client and also way more measurable for a member of the cast, because that really feels good to know that people are behind the show.
It's truly amazing that when something like this, sometimes a lot of this stuff just happens by accident. You're like, holy crap, it was a simple thing, and there's end up being a huge trend. But you think trends is becoming a little bit flimsy and just a little bit too ridiculous? What? Really? That's popular? Seriously?
Yeah, I shake my head a lot at things that have become quote popular trends. But hey, never going to please everybody. I feel like the main focus is just be who you are, do what you do, and hope that there's a community for that.
Do you think representation is always misinterpreted in a lot of things from between voice acting as well as acting between film and television with what we got going on today?
Oh yeah, I feel like there's a lot of concern, categorized and how things are labeled, and really, I've never really felt good with a lot of, let's say, the monikers. Well, actor, actress. We're all just storytellers, no matter what department you work in. I feel like that's the most unifying thing. So why not let that be the strongest focus? We're collectively telling a story because we believe that story needs to be told, or it's incredibly entertaining or incredibly relevant to present times. We're all storytellers, but some of us tell stories by building things that inspire awe and create with computers, and some people do amazing work behind the lens, and some people do amazing things in front of the lens. Some people really direct and lead. There's a lot of different departments, and there's a lot of different labels, but ultimately, I think storyteller is the best one.
Yeah, it's truly important, and the fact is, with all the issues that keeps going on in the real world, now TV shows as well as even cartoons are incorporating what the real issues is, and to me, that's kind of iffy, because you're sloganizing and in product placement of these real life issues into a cartoon. Like the cartoon has to be a specific gender or different sex orientation. They're different sex life. What happened to just simple good storytelling, like you mentioned, and simple just having fun and then making sure good influence on kids itself?
Well, I think that generationally people come from different point of views. More power to communication and technology, but I think we've seen such a huge growth in the social network ability to, create forums and forms of communication. And there are people who have basically said loud and clear to companies, and they've, voted with their dollars and with their voices because they can communicate on all these large platforms their wants, their wishes, and their desires. And, companies are bending to the fan. And, as it can be, I think on one end of the spectrum, argumentatively, it can be quite scary to see how everything's just changing, lightning quick. But on the other end of the spectrum, I feel like, we have to say bravo to more attempts for diversity and more attempts for equality. And yes, I absolutely see how a lot of these things go, maybe further than is required for really, it's a cartoon market. I agree that it's supposed to be for entertainment. There's just a lot of voices that I think went unheard for so long. This is where we are now, and I feel like we as a community should support it.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with expressing with these issues and stuff, but there's a lot of companies out there that are just doing it just because so they can just satisfy the community, just because they don't want to hear any more complaint letters. This is something that it's kind of like a double-sided coin. It's good to express it, but then the way it's expressed into a cartoon or anything that we're not really used to, it's great that we're throwing this out there. We're finally getting these issues addressed. But now we're just trying to put it in there to just to satisfy, or just to basically almost subtly pay off the community. It's like, okay, yeah, we'll make this character gay just so because you've been expressing this so much,
Yeah, it certainly is a larger issue than a pair of minds can make sense of. It's definitely a larger conversation, and I'm really glad that we're living in a world where that's the conversations people are striving to have, and everything becomes a conversational stepping stone in paving the new roads, right? I think that we all get a little caught up with making apologies for the way things were, and that's a great place to start, is by saying I'm sorry that this happened. The way forward should be about making the good systems work and tearing down the systems that don't. I think everybody's making strong points, making good arguments, but yeah, that's so much larger than just one person, and that's why I think it's important to let everybody have their podium, have their say. Having a multi-optic view of the world is what I think we as actors strive to have. Myself, I strive to have a larger than myself lens of the world, and it's really opened up a lot of beautiful aspects of my life, just the way I share things with people and the way I live and the way I try to be. I'm certainly nobody's flawless by any means. We're all just trying to have open conversations and learn what we can, because life is short and it's beautiful and we can make so many amazing things. Yeah, I feel like the table's just getting bigger and there's more seats opening up. So yeah, I'm down. It's all good conversation as long as people are positive, and as long as we can do away with that. Like you were saying earlier, some of the more negative trends, like there's a lot facing the world right now. It's a lot of stress.
Yeah, and but there is a good positive side of things. There is the fun side. There's the entertainment side of between the film industry, entertainment industry. There's despite all the harsh issues that are always being addressed and all that stuff, there's still that fun side of things where you can still enjoy a story. You can still express it to your friends.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm very much on that train as well. The fun aspect is the number one thing that keeps me going to work. I'm not sure how I'm seen in my community, other than, hey, Michael's a working actor, he's a father, he's a family man, he has a life all his own. I'm not trying to be in front of the camera so much. It's just doing my work as a storyteller. It really is, I think, a positive place to start from when you start your day with fun. I'm gonna try and have fun today. I'm gonna make this fun. I'm gonna keep this alive. I'm gonna really try and tell the story from that element of, okay, we're having fun telling this story, and we can enjoy that story and hopefully be improved by it, or some point to reflect on what it is might come up in our day, our daily challenges, right? We might not all be ninjas, we might not all be faced with saving the world every day, but things break down, communication breaks down, relationships break down, and you gotta do the work, patch them up, and I guess that's our quest. That's us as people.
Food for thoughts, because everything film, cartoon, everything, because you're giving room for imagination. You're giving a hug to somebody. You're giving anger to somebody. You're giving everything you've got from your side of the table, that this is how you're feeling, this is how you're expressing, and then once you've seen this, once you express it, I mean, you almost feel good afterwards.
Oh yeah, expression and art is always cathartic for me. I mean, I can't really speak for everybody, but I always really enjoy creating and, having an opportunity to, go through, like I said, a transformation into a storyteller, into a character, into a different universe, a different world. Is why I keep coming back to work. It's about fun.
Yeah, when you voice characters, I mean, do you almost have to treat it as if it's a pitching type of tune instrument, to where when you're voicing the character, I mean, you got to make sure that you're getting the voice, not just the voice itself, but making sure how you speak the line to make sure it doesn't sound really awkward, at least on your end. I mean, anyone that's going to watch this probably won't really notice right away. I mean, because you go too high, you go too low, or whatever. I mean, it won't fit the mood of the scene.
Right. Well, I mean, performance has a lot to do with knowing your character, and I've been pretty, active with this character over the last 10 seasons of Ninjago. I mean, we've been through a lot as characters. You kind of get to a certain point, and you know your character, and you kind of know how they're going to say what they're going to say, because you all along, your performance choices. But of course, we also have amazing directing on the show. Enough of a round table, mentality of like, hey, let's really make the show awesome. It's always been very open format with, oh, hey, cool suggestions, or, hey, what about this for a rewrite, possibility, or hey, can I suggest an alternate read for that line? So it's very collaborative in that way. That's just what makes the show better.
Oh, definitely. Do you think it's best by simply looking at the image of the character? Do you think it's either best performed or best explained just by looking at the image in terms of showing it to the viewer or even the listener?
A lot of the time, you can look at a character and you can say, okay, this is a concept image. How am I going to create a voice for this character? And really, it comes down to a lot of what they say about that character. There's usually like a little snippet of the character breakdown, and it gives you a bit of a picture as far as the adjectives and the nature of the character and what they choose to say about that character. From there, it's just like building any other character framework. It's like, okay, if I was auditioning for this character and this character was, this age, I would try to adjust my voice to sound older if I was young, and you just make the necessary adjustments. And it's the funnest part about character creation, that whole process. And it's really hard to describe. Yeah, no, it's, at the end of the day, you're either the right character voice for the show or you're not. But hey, if you give a good audition, they might call you back to do, other voices, other guest starring characters. So you never know. Just always show up and bring your A game and have a lot of fun. And yeah, voice work can be rewarding in that way.
Yeah, well, when it comes to working in the film, though, have you accidentally actually taken what you performed in film and put it toward the voice acting? And do you think that's going to be a bad combination for you?
Oh, I've definitely experienced crossover. I was lucky enough to win the role of Luca in War for the Planet of the Apes, the last film in the recent trilogy. And even just working from a place, hey, your character might use sign language, and yes, he's a silverback, but there's also this vocalization that comes with everything you do, and communication in general just becomes about this sort of like, and there's a lot of this sort of very guttural, sounds ghastly, I know, but I mean, there's a lot of verbal support for physical action. It's sort of like, if I was standing in front of you and I was yelling, hey, 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 like, don't do that, it would have a sound. And, I think that Luca definitely crossed the line between Michael's voice acting world and Michael's film acting world, and that's really the beauty of motion capture and how it, blends everything together. I mean, it's all acting. I mean, I know that people like to cut it up and say voice acting, and and this is, mocap act, theater and stage or whatever, but it's all just the medium that people use to record my performance has nothing to do with what I'm doing. I'm doing the same thing. I'm, in an ape way, I'm trying to disconnect from human thoughts and just be an ape. But they definitely cross over. There's lots of that I find, with voiceover and with, acting. Your character might have a super gruff voice just because you're on television.
Yeah, you kind of have to separate yourself from both worlds in a way to find your actual, I guess, pinpoint to get the kind of emotions that you want, depending on which side you're going to choose.
Yeah, it really just depends on, like I said, however they're going to record you. If it's a recording, session in a sound stage and you're just doing, voiceover work and they're taking care of the animation, well then maybe they'll reference a video of you voicing the character when it comes to the animation to get the character, that's kind of like an old school thing. I'm not sure how many people are still doing that, but I mean, it really does beg the question: is my body important when it comes to voiceover? I mean, obviously it is for generating sound. It doesn't really matter what I look like. I mean, some people say yes, absolutely it does, and of course that's just, again, one of those larger conversations.
Yeah, no, that the fact is, as far as like, even if you wanted to move your body, I mean, clearly, I mean, you're not really going to be filmed, but I mean, like, when you're trying to do a character, like, in terms of voice acting, and you're trying to maneuver of how this character's going, whichever the scene is, I mean, trying to get almost like a visual aid for yourself.
Oh, yeah, it's really just to generate different sounds in your body, right? It's like, oh, my character, what are we doing? We're climbing up the mountain. Okay, great. Hey, guys, can we get some climbing sound, right? And you do a series of climbing sounds. I definitely want to stress how integral post-production process is. Like, editing all these sounds together is really masterful, and they do a lot of note-taking and record-taking throughout the records and stuff, and it just helps them to build their assembly. But yeah, no, we really would be just, disembodied voices in the dark without animators and without sound recording engineers. So always thumbs up to those guys, those gals, that amazing team.
Well, go ahead and plug in anything that you'd like to plug in, promote, anything else added, any release dates or anything like that.
You know what? Sadly, I'm not allowed to talk about the recent stuff.
Okay, how about Lego Ninjago, the last season that was already released?
Oh yeah, no, hey, you guys can go ahead and just watch the heck out of Lego Ninjago any day, sure.
Yes! Well, there you have it, everybody. That is voice actor as well as actor Michael Adam Dwight.
Thanks for having me on the show, man. We'll talk to you next time, Mike.